Well, Vicky, we were already expecting tariffs to go into effect tomorrow on steel and aluminum imports at a rate of 25%. The president's post a short time ago upping that number to 50% specifically for Canada. On aluminum alone, that could be hugely consequential. The U.S. imports the vast majority of the aluminum we bring into this country from Canada.
Is we are going to build trading relationships with like-minded partners, reliable partners, partners that are aligned with our values. It begins here.
Donald Trump has reignited the trade war by imposing a 50% tariff on imported aluminum and steel under Section 232. He claims it's to protect America, but the markets reacted immediately. Within just one day, the price of aluminum in the U.S. surged to 58 cents per pound, throwing the manufacturing sector into disarray. Canada didn't say much, it simply acted. Ottawa injected 1.5 billion Canadian dollars into the Alouette smelter and secured a stable, low-cost electricity deal with Hydro-Quebec. No press releases, no noise, just a clear and calculated strategy. This raises a crucial question. Why did prices skyrocket overnight? And was this crisis deliberately engineered by the U.S.? Data shows that in 2023, nearly half of America's aluminum imports came from Canada. When Trump's tariffs hit, aluminum prices in the Midwest jumped 54% to $1,325 USD per ton, a record high. Companies like GM, Ford, and Boeing were left scrambling, either absorb the increased costs or halt production. The ripple effects were felt everywhere. New U.S. export orders dropped to their lowest point since the COVID era. The slowdown in the smelting industry also dragged down industrial electricity demand, particularly in states like Illinois and Ohio. Forecasts suggest industrial electricity consumption in the Midwest will fall by more than 3%. Meanwhile, Canada is picking up speed. Europe and Japan have quietly signed long-term aluminum supply deals with Canada, free of tariffs. This isn't just a reactive move, but a long-term strategy to secure supply from a stable and trusted source. And it's not just aluminum. Canada is ramping up exports to the UK, Singapore, and Italy. International partners are increasingly shifting away from American suppliers, opting for Canada due to more stable prices and lower political risk. Asian smelters have begun pulling out of U.S. bauxite contracts and switching to Quebec, citing lower costs, reduced emissions, and access to clean hydroelectric power. Canada is gradually replacing the U.S. in the global supply chain, not with rhetoric, but with concrete action. Then came the next move. Ottawa officially declared clean aluminum a strategic national asset. From now on, aluminum is not merely a raw metal, it's a tool in Canada's green industrial strategy. While the U.S. continues to debate whether tariffs are effective, Canada is quietly building a new model, where resources, energy, and diplomacy work in tandem. Ottawa isn't just upgrading the Alouette smelter, it's also expanding the port of Sagan so aluminum can head straight to global markets without passing through the U.S. Canada is redrawing its logistics map on its own terms. With a single strategic shift, Canada freed its export sector from American infrastructure and political dependency, while simultaneously building its own industrial corridor from Quebec to the world. The federal government also increased investment in aerospace, defense, and green energy. Meanwhile, the United States struggled with rising raw material costs, broken supply chains, and no clear support plans. Canada responded faster and more decisively. From aluminum and lithium to electric vehicles, new supply chains are taking shape, positioning Canada as a global leader. Once merely seen as the next-door supplier, Canada has now become a reliable hub in global trade, particularly in strategic industries. This story isn't just about aluminum, it's about how a nation flipped the script, from reactive to proactive leadership. Canada's transformation goes beyond manufacturing. It's a complete overhaul of the supply chain, from resource extraction and materials processing to transportation and export. Every step is backed by government-supported infrastructure and coherent, unified policy, not piecemeal fixes. South of the border, the U.S. continues to flounder. Smelters are relocating to Canada, causing industrial power demand in the Midwest to plummet. Gas-fired power plants in Illinois and Ohio now produce surplus electricity, with no buyers. Revenues are falling, jobs are vanishing, and the entire energy ecosystem is beginning to fracture. And it doesn't stop there. Electric vehicle plants in Ontario and battery hubs in Manitoba are booming. These facilities aren't just replacing American counterparts, they're outperforming them. Major automakers are now choosing Canada for 3 key reasons: clean energy, secure supply chains, and insulation from political conflict. Even U.S. defense manufacturing is starting to feel the strain. Missiles, aircraft, satellites all depend on high-grade aluminium. As domestic smelters shut down, the Pentagon suddenly finds itself facing a shortage of critical supply. Meanwhile, Ottawa has quietly increased defense spending, funneled new investment into aerospace, and integrated itself further into global defense networks. No fanfare, no headlines, just speed and stability. Canada is becoming an irreplaceable partner, not because of its size, but because of its reliability. And when the crisis deepened, Ottawa unveiled a $10 billion response package. But this wasn't just a bailout, it was a strategic policy weapon, shielding smelters from price volatility, tightening import controls on non-FTA countries, and securing domestic supply. Washington, by contrast, remained silent. No rescue package, no tax relief, no logistical infrastructure strategy. All that remained was disorder. Raw material prices soared, American businesses suffered, layoffs began, and production lines shut down. Some manufacturers failed to meet contract deadlines, missed deliveries, and lost clients. The situation grew increasingly irreparable. Canada, on the other hand, adapted swiftly, invested wisely, and prepared for what's ahead. From Quebec to Ontario, from the Port of Sagan to battery facilities in Manitoba, everything is running smoothly under a long-term strategy. And the world is taking notice. Canada is no longer just an exporter. It's becoming a symbol of stability in an era of global trade turmoil. And as the world scrambles to secure sustainable supply chains, Canada is not merely keeping pace, it's leading the way. Hydropower-based aluminium from Quebec, domestically sourced lithium, and clean electricity from hydroelectric dams have become the pillars of a new green industrial economy. This is no longer a story about a few export deals. It's about the reshaping of a nation's economic identity. Tesla and Stellantis didn't choose Canada because they like the maple leaf. They chose it because it's the only place in North America that can offer a clean, stable EV supply chain, untouched by tariffs or political disruptions. Electric vehicles require more than just batteries. They need lightweight aluminum frames, clean lithium batteries, and reliable infrastructure. Canada now offers all 3. According to Bloomberg NEF, in the second quarter of 2025, Canada surpassed Germany in newly announced EV projects, a significant feat given Germany's historic dominance in green automotive manufacturing. What's more impressive is that these projects aren't limited to a single province. From Ontario and Quebec to even Manitoba, a new wave of investment is rising. This isn't speculative capital, it's real industry. Factories, ports, rail lines, and research labs are springing up across the country, all tightly integrated by one clear strategy: to build a self-reliant, clean, and resilient economy. Meanwhile, the United States is still debating infrastructure bills, port upgrades, and even who's to blame for the fallout from aluminium tariffs. Canada? The Port of Sagan is already operational, handling vessels over 69,000 tons, acting as a new maritime gateway that bypasses American territory altogether. A high-capacity rail line now runs directly from the Alouette smelter to the port. No U.S. customs, no border taxes, no reliance on American infrastructure. That is trade sovereignty, built through action. And because Sagan is engineered to meet EU emission standards, Canadian products can enter European markets without triggering carbon border tariffs. Meanwhile, U.S. goods face higher costs for failing to meet those benchmarks. Canada isn't competing on price alone. It's competing on transparency, standards, and predictability. In today's world, those qualities are more valuable than raw resources. From once being seen as America's resource warehouse, Canada is now redefining its place in the global supply chain. The old cross-border routes are being replaced by smarter, cleaner, and safer domestic networks. And this shift isn't just about economic gains, it's a strategic lever. Ottawa is building a fully self-contained trade corridor, from Quebec to the Atlantic, reaching directly into Europe and Asia, without relying on a single inch of American soil. No U.S. trucks, no U.S. checkpoints, no barriers caused by Washington's erratic policies. In the past, the United States' geographic position was seen as an irreplaceable advantage. That's no longer the case. Canada has carved out its own lane, faster, more stable, and immune to political turmoil. Meanwhile, in the US, the shutdown of smelters has sent shockwaves through the entire industrial energy network. Gas-fired power plants in the Midwest now have no buyers. They continue to operate, but no one is consuming the electricity. Revenues are collapsing. Natural gas no longer flows to manufacturing sites. It's fueling an economy running on fumes. In contrast, Canada is scaling up production. Clean aluminum is going into electric vehicles. Electric vehicles are powered by lithium batteries refined locally, and those batteries are charged using hydroelectricity. Everything fits together seamlessly, all under domestic control. This is no longer about raw resource exports. This is modern industry shaped by policy and long-term vision. And there's one more angle that rarely gets attention: defense. Because aluminum isn't just for electric vehicles. It's also a critical material in the defense sector, from missile bodies and fighter jets to satellites. As US smelters stall, the Pentagon is forced to look north. And as usual, Ottawa isn't standing still. The federal government is injecting an additional $700 million annually into aerospace and defense, not for show, but to deepen integration into global defense networks.